Simon Davis with It's a Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches.
Hey guys, Simon here. Welcome to A Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches. This is the first episode of 2020. I hope you had a brilliant Christmas and a happy new year to all of you fencers and fencettes. Today I just wanted to briefly encapsulate what we sort of went through last year and talk about some of the things and some of the challenges I had in specific last year. I got sort of sucked into some big jobs that really focused on my time, and my time management sort of went out the window a bit. So as you'll probably notice, I did one episode in November. I missed all of December. I was working away on a job out west that just sucked everything out of me. So let's dive into it. Good to see there's starting to get a few followers, and hopefully there's we'll realign this year. We've got a few guests coming up this year that I'm excited to have on board. So we're going to try and make it a year more about talking to other fencers rather than just myself, talking to business owners, talking to installers, talking to contractors, and seeing how they do things differently in their world that may help some of you guys as well. So I'm really excited to be a part of that and explore what's happening in all parts of the fencing world. So just diving back to last year was the first year of the podcast. I think we've done about 26 episodes. Not enough in my opinion, but I sort of got hammered by time, which is one of my probably things that I lack in my own business is my time management. I have too many things happening and I get sucked pretty dry with time, and then when I do get home and get in front of the computer, sometimes I just want to down everything and not look at anything, to be honest. So that's one of the reasons why this has been a little bit slow in starting, but you're going to make a bit more concerted effort this year and get things happening. But I've been talking to a lot of fencers around the area and a lot of different people in different areas. And one of the big things that I've found is this year, specifically coming off 18 months off the floods, is everybody especially in Australia, is so busy, very, very busy. Especially the good fencers, they seem to have a lot of work on. There's a lot of new starters coming into the area and doing startup fencing. And one of the things I keep coming against a lot of people is they keep telling me they've got a lot of leads, they've got a lot of sales happening. Things are starting to slow a little bit, and January typically for most fencers it will be a sort of quieter time to get sort of up and running. But the thing that I want to sort of emphasize most today on is without future planning, leads and lack of leads will basically bring you unstuck at the end of the day. Now, a lot of us do word of mouth fencing, and that is by far the best advertising or marketing you can get. However, for me, I believe that the word of mouth marketing is not sustainable, and especially if you come from a small town, you've fenced out that town and you're the only one there, that's great, but your word of mouth will bring in the immediate surrounds of that area, but then you have to start looking outside the box. Now, getting outside the box is a bit different to word of mouth in that side of things. So you can run out of a populace pretty quickly by just shutting down and doing a word of mouth. Now, I'm working in a city of 40,000. Now I was in a town of about 3,000 where I started, and I sort of grew that, and I had to pick up and move into the bigger city. I don't do any advertising myself per se now because I can't keep up with the leads that are generating on the back end of my Facebook and my podcast and the fence posts and things like that people are finding me now. My North Coast Fencing Facebook page doesn't have a great deal of reviews. There's only about 400 people following that, but it keeps bringing people to me all the time. With the small crew that I have at this stage, I'm comfortable with. I can't really take on a lot more work without putting more people on, and I'm just not real sure that I want to go down that track at this stage. So I'm quite happy just sitting and making good profits with what I'm doing. And that's the big thing. The big question for you guys is where you're situated now. Have you got any marketing in place? Because the leads that come in times the prospects that you can go and see and get to quote times your conversions equals your customers, and then your customers times your average dollar sale and your profits and etc. equal your margins, and it flows on through that side of things to get your profit at the end of the day. And this is what we're in business for profit. So if you're discounting your work, if you're not qualifying your customers and bringing in low-end customers that will give you sort of pennies on the dollar for your job, then you are basically don't know your own value, and you're looking at coming down a track that is you're just going to keep attracting that type of clientele or that type of prospect, and that's not what you want to do. So I don't discount at all. So I know where my markets are. I know what type of people I want to work with. This goes for my coaching side as well. I know exactly where I need to be. But with my fencing side, if I discount, if I choose to discount, as I don't do this generally as a rule, I used to when I first started, and for a long time, because I didn't have the right systems in place and the cash management system and things like that, I struggled chasing money, making ends meet. The cash flow was always poor. I had to work out of overdrafts, and it's not a good way to start your business out because you're behind the eight ball and on the back foot sort of all the time. So for me, if I want to be in business, I need to make sales. For me to make, and it's not just about making sales, it's about reaching the profit margin that I want to get to and where I want to be and what's comfortable for me and my wife. And that's where it comes into play of having a plan, having a marketing plan, having goals, having smart goals so you can make sure you're working to that plan and checking yourself off and having your checks and balances that litigate yourself all the way through so you know exactly where you're at and if you're on track or not. Because one of the big things I've seen quite often with smaller fencers is they go in, especially startups, they'll go in and they'll start chasing work. They'll chase every type of job, not necessarily knowing what type of job they want to do, what type of people they want to work for, how much profit they want to make. They just want to get jobs in the door. And you can be busy for the sake of being busy, but if you're going to be busy, you might as well be profitable at the same time. So for me to be profitable, I need to make sales at the profitable margins that I want, which means the discounts don't come into play. So I want to leave that there with you guys there today. Make sure you're on track for 2020. We have a lot of things coming up. I've been out west at a little place called Warriouta, out in between Moree and Inverell, northwestern New South Wales. I've been doing a school fence. For those that follow me, there's been a lot of things on the Fence Post Facebook group and on my Instagram and TikTok. And a lot of people have been rubbishing the style of fence we're doing and the way we've sort of been processing that fence. And for the naysayers that have been on that, I'll just clarify this. It's a government project, so we get a specification that we have to work to, and they tell us how to do it, and this is what we have to do. Whether it's our opinion that we like to step colour bond, rake colour bond, put spears on it, don't put spears on it, is something of irrelevance to what we do. I'm just a bloke on the ground with my crew that we're getting paid good money to go and build what they've told us to build. Now, it's not for everybody. I understand that. But whether, I've had contractors come to me and tell me that I'm doing it wrong and I'm doing this. I've been doing this for nearly 30 years. So I've got my systems down pat. I know exactly what the government are chasing and what they need and what they require from me and my team. And that goes all the way down from paperwork to safety to the specifications, to the footings, to the install, to the temporary fencing, to the signs, to anti-theft screws. It goes all the way through. And as I said, it's not for everybody. Everybody's got a certain way of doing things. I just try and take videos of little bits and pieces to try and help some of the people who are starting out different ways of setting up and doing things. And it's all about innovation and moving to the next level rather than keeping blinkers on yourself and trying to follow what Granddad did 40 years ago and what my father did. And things have changed so much, so we've got to sort of adapt with that. And that has been one of my fortes of running my business, has been my install methods. I can get across the ground pretty quick in most cases with minimal people without trying to kill us all. But that has been a big failure as well of mine, is that it takes me away from building on the business, and because I'm always in the business. And I heard Sean King say this once about having a conveyor belt running all the time, running through, and everything in the business is running straight through me as the owner or through you as the owner. When you can step aside, let everything come past you, and you can pick off different things to work on, is when you become the real business owner. Now, I've had that opportunity to do that and grab those things on the side, work on those issues that I've had before. I've now pushed them back in to where I am. Everything comes through me now because I do have a relatively small team. So I don't have somebody sitting on the sidelines to just work on the business. So I do that in my spare time. And a lot of you guys listen to this who are smaller will do exactly the same. So don't be afraid to be still in your business. It's how we all get going and get started. I've found with me being in the business the way I am now with 3 or 4 people now, I can step back a little bit more, but I find I'm making more profit now than what I ever had when I had 20 people going and 10 subbies and things like that going. So, and because I can control the quality as well of what's happening, and I've got good systems in place and I've got good people in place to control the quality. So that is the big key, is having your systems right, getting that sorted. 2012, some of the people I have met out in my tracks and travels last year, and mainly last year, I haven't been really out back to work yet, but last year in Wairarapa, I met a fella called Mick Davis, and no relation to mine, but Mick is a 5 patent owner for fencing and some tools that he has made. He's doing a lot of fencing at the moment and troughs. I will be getting him on the podcast here next year. He's a proud Indigenous man. He's got a lot of family working for him in his company. So he's going to come on and discuss a few things and how he sort of got his setup and got going. And we'll bring him on shortly. I've talked to Dodge. Dodge is going to come on. He's a fencer from down around the Picton area. He's going to come on and have a chat with me as well, talk about how he's doing down in his area with some of the different materials that he's working with. And I've also been asked to be not a host but be a guest on the Profit First for Tradies podcast coming up in next week, I believe, or the week after. So I'll get a copy of that, put that back in our post as well. So that's very exciting to notice that we're starting to get a bit of recognition and moving forward. Coming up in March is the fencing ceremonies and awards held in Melbourne this year. I think it's on the 7th of March. I just haven't got my calendar here. But early March. If you want a seat at my table, you please need to let me know as soon as possible. I think there's about 6 on my table already off the top of my head, 6 or 7. It's going to be a banger of a couple of days. The conference, they have suppliers there that you get to meet, discussing new things that's happening in the area. There's in our industry, there's the skills committee will be there, so they'll be talking about some of the things that are happening in the skills trade and what's happening in the actual fencing industry Australia. So that's really exciting as well. And then one of the big things is you have the awards dinner, get a chance to sort of rub shoulders with a heap of other fencers. And I've been to 2 or 3 of these now, and each time I go, I endeavour to go and meet somebody different and talk to somebody different, because it is absolutely fantastic to meet different fencers, meet different walks of life or different styles of fencing. And it actually blows my mind that some of the different fences out there and some of the skill levels that you guys are actually building fences is absolutely phenomenal. It's brilliant. I'm not a innovative thinker per se. I work off basic systems. I build and install very basic fences to that extent, and I follow the systems that have been provided for me for that, and I've been doing that for a long time. As I said, I'm not innovative. There's innovative fences out there that are making new wire strainers and new clips and new bars and new hammers and new post drivers and percussion drivers and things like that. The industry is moving so fast all over the world, and it is very exciting to see that Australia is starting to catch up a little bit now. And some of the blokes I've met at these dues is really awesome to catch up and see where they are and what they're doing. So it's quite people aren't for everybody, and there's some people are quite quirky and things like that. But as it said, you get your blinkers off, you get your head out of the sand, you can go and talk to these people, find out what's happening, and you find out relatively quickly that you are a very small fish in a big ocean, and one ocean for us that, rather than trying to be competitive against each other all the time, is to encourage each other and grow and hold somebody up in higher esteem, which is great. So there's I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to meeting some of the new people that want to come sit on my table and have a chat with me. And I'll be there for the 2 days. My wife and I are going down, so I'll be at the conference all day, and of course the awards night for that night. So that is something where I'm looking really forward to. Other than that, there's a few things that probably for the start of the year you guys need to sort of work on is a plan of action. Remember this, if it's not written down, it's not a plan, it's only a dream. So if you want to go somewhere in your business, whether you have help or do it solo, that is fine, but you need to have a plan. You need to have not a reckoning, but you need to have somebody hold you accountable for that plan, whether it is your wife, your partner, your spouse, your children, whatever. A really quick way of doing a good plan is I set up a 12-month goal financially, where I want to be, health-wise, where I want to be, mentally and spiritually, where I need to be. And I try and break that down then into 90 days, break it down into a month if you want to, or 3 months, 12 months, 3 months, month, weekly, and then you can even break it down into a daily grind if you're that way inclined. I'm not so much more a daily. I like to have something written out. I have vision boards, stick it on the wall. This is where I want to be. I've got one right in front of my computer that has to be pulled down now and redone for 2020. And mine are quite simple. I need to talk to a lot of people to bring the more people I talk to, more prospects I get, the more conversations I can have, the more coaching I can do. That moves my needle quite in a significant way. And the same with my fencing company. I need to talk to a significant amount of people. I don't have a very high conversion rate, so to speak, let's put it this way. I turn a lot of work away because I don't want to work with certain people and with certain margins. So there's a lot of work that I just refuse to go and do. A lot of you guys know that I am one of the only ones that do charge for my quotes. So there are certain types of fences that I just don't really want to get into. And for me, where I'm sort of set at, the bigger the better. I can make more money out of those ones because I can knock them over a lot quicker than the sort of 1 or 2 man teams. So that's where I sort of look at. And for me, I think last I looked at, I think I was at about a 45% conversion rate for those bigger jobs. And yeah, so again, that plan goes up on the wall. I look at it every morning when I come in to do paperwork before I head out for the day, see where I'm at, see what I need to do. And if you can't write it down, you can't track it. So I've learned that one. Something I used to hate doing. I hate tracking things because I just doesn't seem to gel with my mental capacity, and I sometimes think it's a waste of time. But what I have really found that the numbers don't lie. So if you can track what you're doing and keep a balance of it, you can move that needle significantly one way or the other in your favor. So I'll leave it there, guys. Happy New Year. All the best. I will endeavor to do at least a couple of podcasts a month. I'm going to try and do a few more than those and start talking to a lot of you blokes out there. So if you're interested in joining me on my podcast, talking about your business, sometimes it's just a chat. Sometimes we get vulnerable and spill the beans on what's happening in the background. And sometimes it's just a laugh and a giggle and a quick chat. And that's what it's all about, meeting new people. So if you want to join me on my podcast, please reach out via Messenger to me on my Profitable Fencer page or my Facebook group, The Fence Post. We can have a chat and love to hear from you and see what you've got to offer. Okay, guys, take it easy. Happy 2020.
Thanks again for listening to the Fencer's Life Podcast. Be sure to follow on Twitter, Instagram, or the free Facebook group, The Fence Posts. And of course, Simon's personal Facebook, facebook.com/Simon M. Davis 1. And also check out Spotify to get weekly episodes. If you believe Simon can help you make a difference in your fencing business, please reach out to him on Messenger or visit his coaching mentoring site at theprofitablefencer.com. Until then, stay safe and happy fencing.